Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, and thank you for stopping by. All right, guys, what we're going to talk about this morning on this episode of the Bullet Points is coming out of Philadelphia. Now, you guys know, and we've covered a lot on this channel, Philadelphia is in the middle of a massive crime surge, most of it due to the fact that they have a woke DA there named Larry Krasner. Now, Krasner has redefined the entire punishment system and penal code in Philadelphia, which is leading to more and more crime. In fact, more carjackings that have ever been on record, and they're increasing exponentially. Now, of course, this is leading to people arming themselves with the Second Amendment right, of which they have amazing rights in this country. However, what I'm about to show you today could be part of the problem when we have a dirty cop who is selling guns that were used in gun crime to unknown criminals. This is something that we need to address, because if you're going to spend all the time, energy, and hot air about attacking legal gun owners, maybe, just maybe, you go after the people who are actually the cause of the crime, such as criminals and those that are enabling criminals like this dirty cop we're about to cover. Everything is in a link in the description box below. I cannot wait to hear from you guys on this one, because this one really cooks my grits. I'm going to say a quick word from our sponsor, Established Titles, and then we're going to walk through this, and I, again, can't wait to hear what you guys think. The Established Title Packs give you 1 square foot of dedicated land in an estate in Eddleston, Scotland, along with a certified crest like you see right here. This is based on a historic Scottish custom, which will allow landowners to become lords or ladies, and if you act now, you can be in the LOA little plot so we can have our own little fiefdom. This is a fun and novel way to preserve the woodlands of Scotland. They work with global charities, One Tree Planted and Trees for Our Future, to support global reforestation efforts. You could officially change your name to Lord or Lady and get it on your plane tickets and also on your credit cards. This makes a great last minute gift, and they have couple packs which you can get adjoining plots of land together. In order to give the ultimate conversation piece for that special someone, Established Titles is running a massive sale right now. Plus, if you use the code Langley, you get an additional 10% off. Go to establishedtitles.com/Langley to support the channel now. All right, my brothers and sisters, as I mentioned, we have got a really ugly, gross story. I would personally like to say that all cops aren't bad. All humans aren't bad. Legal gun owners aren't bad. However, criminals and those that abuse their power, like in this case, this officer, are bad. That's what we're going to walk through. And in Philadelphia, when they spend all this time talking about how gun control against legal, law-abiding gun owners is the answer, they have this going on. Check this out. Everything is linked, as I always have it. Former Philadelphia deputy accused of trafficking guns used in deadly school shooting. The guns were allegedly sold 2 weeks after a Philadelphia school shooting. This came out today. Now, immediately, you ask yourself, what could have prevented any of the prescribed gun control that they've done? Would it have been universal background checks? Would it have been red flag laws? Would it have been magazine bans? Would it have been handgun bans? What would have done it? The simple fact is, nothing. You had a criminal element that perpetrated a crime. Multiple people were injured. The police come, seize those weapons, and then a dirty deputy takes them and sells them to someone else. Nothing would have done it. Universal background checks? Nothing. Red flag laws? Nothing. Because the system itself is broken. Fix your system and then stop talking about taking the gun rights from people who are doing nothing wrong. Let's continue. A former Philadelphia sheriff's deputy allegedly illegally sold 2 firearms that were used in a deadly school shooting, according to federal prosecutors. By the way, allegedly, because he hasn't been proven guilty, this is a new breaking case, he's caught on camera doing it. Samir Ahmad, 29, of Philadelphia, has been charged with firearms trafficking and selling firearms to a person unlawfully in the U.S., the Department of Justice announced Thursday. Now, if you've got this kind of thing, now this of course is not representative of every single police officer in Philadelphia. Of course it's not. This is a bad apple. However, when you spend all of your time assailing the Second Amendment rights of a legal population, this cannot happen across the board, even without your patronizing and villainization of gun owners. But let's keep going. Ahmad allegedly sold a confidential FBI informant who was unlawfully in the U.S. several firearms while he was employed as a deputy sheriff with the Philadelphia Sheriff's Office, according to a criminal complaint unsealed Thursday. 4473s wouldn't have caught this. Nothing would have caught this. This is dirty corruption at its worst. Again, Does it make sense now why maybe crimes are on the rise in Philadelphia? Carjackings are at unprecedented levels. There's a gun violence crisis going on because no one's going to prison, and the police officers, or the deputies in this case, are selling the guns and perpetrating the entire thing. Let's keep going. Again, not representative of the entire population of officers. There's a lot of good officers. However, this case in point kind of speaks to a systemic issue. Let's keep going. One of the sales for a revolver occurred on April 27, according to the complaint. Prosecutors further allege that he sold the informant 2 semi-automatic pistols for $3,000 on October 13th. Law enforcement traced the 2 pistols to a recent shooting outside Roxborough High School in Philadelphia, according to federal prosecutors. 5 high schoolers were shot, 1 fatally, after at least 4 people opened fire outside the school on September 27. So you have the initial incident, which is clearly a larger crime into itself. Those firearms are then seized by the law enforcement. 2 weeks later, a deputy gets their hands on them and then sends them back out on the street for cash. Aside the obvious discrepancies of all the things, the violations of everything wrong, morally, ethically, legally, whatever, how is this even possible to happen? You have no inventory controls. You have no chain of custody. You have no ability to know where firearms and evidence that you seized are. What is going on in Larry Krasner's Philadelphia? You don't even have basic understanding of what gun went where the chain of custody evidence was, and where the inventory was. This happened 2 weeks after a crime, not 40 years. 2 weeks. And you wonder why there's a perpetuation of continuing violence there in Philadelphia, because the system is broken. It's not the Second Amendment, it is the system. Let's keep going. Quote, just 2 weeks later, the defendant obtained 2 of the guns used in the shooting, then sold them to the informant, prosecutors said in the motion for pretrial detention filed on Wednesday. The fact that the defendant had access to these guns so quickly after they were used to commit such a horrific crime speaks volumes about the danger that this defendant poses to the community. Listen to what else he did and the backstory of how long he's been a deputy. This is not someone brand new. The motion further alleges that Ahmad sold the informant another semi-automatic pistol as well as more than 50 grams of methamphetamine on October 18. You still think that the Second Amendment and the law-abiding people who are partaking are the problem? Keep going. Ahmad, who had been employed as a deputy with the sheriff's office since February of 2018, so coming on 4 years now, was fired and arrested on October 19th, the DOJ say. He faces a maximum sentence of 15 years in prison for the firearms trafficking charges and could face additional charges for the alleged drug and firearm sales on October 18, according to the DOJ. Again, in summation, Larry Krasner spends all of his time letting people and criminals away and off the hook with no penalties. They go back out into the system. It continues to happen. The closing rate and the clearance rate of cases in Philadelphia is abysmal for gun violence. Then, after the guns are actually seized, after they've been perpetrated in a crime, which, by the way, is questionable in itself, then the deputy takes them after 2 weeks. There's clearly no evidentiary chain of custody. There's clearly no inventory because no one noticed. And now they get sold back out on the street by the deputy. 4473, red flag law, any of the gun control laws would not have prevented this. Universal background checks, not happening because they were already a criminal element that had the guns, and they were taken by the police officers who would have been enforcing red flag laws. The whole thing stinks to high heaven, and this is an example of when corruption gets involved, all the gun control in the world will not solve the problem that we have. It's about people embracing their Second Amendment rights legally and lawfully. And that's what I've got for you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will see you on the next one. I'm Braden. See you later.